Just these 5? Weren't there 10 sent this morning? How many more do you want? I am the crown princess. Married into the Eastern Palace for 3 years, yet no heir has been born. Ministers have petitioned that the lack of heirs in the Eastern Palace shakes the foundation of the state. They requested that the crown prince take concubines. The emperor and empress, with a stroke of a pen, approved it and then turned around and sent me 10 handsome men. I was completely stunned. Why send them to me? Shouldn't they be for the crown prince? What on earth are my imperial father and mother thinking? The crown prince was furious. He left those words and went to argue with the emperor and empress. I looked at the 10 handsome men before me. Fearing I had misinterpreted the emperor and empress, I asked again. The emperor and empress sent you to the Eastern Palace. Whom exactly did they specify you should serve? The young man at the front, hearing my question, gave a calm and composed salute. In response to the crown princess, we have been ordered by the emperor and empress to reside in the Eastern Palace. To assist the crown princess in expanding the royal lineage. Wait, you actually know I'm the crown princess? Assist me in expanding the lineage? What exactly do you intend to do? Help the prince push his waist? I rubbed my forehead, only to find the man before me looking more and more familiar. Have I seen you somewhere before? In response to the crown princess, your humble servant passed the imperial exams this year. Thanks to His Majesty's appreciation, I was personally appointed as the Tanhua. I remember now. At a palace banquet 6 months ago, I caught a glimpse of this Tanhua from a distance. The empress saw my gaze linger on him, and asked with a smile, that is this year's Tanhua. His character and appearance are both top tier. Please take a look. Do you like him? I felt something was off back then. Looking at the empress's words now, there seems to be a deep meaning. If I really slept with 8 or 10 of them, wouldn't the emperor and empress use my infidelity and lack of virtue as a crime to depose me as the crown princess? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. After ordering the steward to settle the 10 men, I had the guards prepare a carriage to go home and consult my parents. I had it all figured out on the way. My father is the great general of the north, and a life and death friend of the current emperor. He commands an army of 800,000 with a formidable reputation. My mother is also a daughter of a military family, and the empress is her close friend from the palace. In her youth, she also fought on the battlefield every day. And I am their only daughter, doted upon since childhood. Who knew that as soon as I entered the house, my mother would be crying as she held me in her arms? That empress actually sent 10 beauties to the prince. Do they no longer care about our Gu family's 800,000 iron cavalry? Are we nothing to them? Don't worry, daughter. I'm going to the palace right now to demand an explanation for you. I was deeply moved, tears streaming down my face. I tugged at her sleeve and whispered an explanation. The emperor and empress did indeed send 10 handsome men to the Eastern Palace. But they weren't for the prince. They were for me. Is that all? Just 10? Ninger. The lack of heirs in the Eastern Palace shakes the foundation of the state. For the sake of continuing the imperial bloodline, you must work twice as hard. I started to doubt my life. Am I crazy? Or is the world crazy? After returning to the Eastern Palace, I happened to run into the prince, who had just met with the emperor and empress. He looked quite dejected. I quickly spoke up to ask, Your Highness, regarding those 10 men, how should I deal with them? At the mention of this, the prince's face turned dark again. Just settle them all in the backyard for now. All in the backyard of the Eastern Palace? Yes. All in the backyard of the Eastern Palace. The prince stormed off. I was shocked. Could it be that the prince also has intentions for someone else? Is my position in jeopardy? Thinking this, before going to sleep that night, I specially applied the rose fragrance oil the prince loves most. In the past, every time I wore rose oil, he would be especially enthusiastic. Sure enough, as soon as the prince entered the bedchamber, his melancholic face immediately softened by 3 points. He took off his outer coat and walked toward me step by step. I lowered my head shyly. Under the dim glow of the candlelight, he looked even more handsome. But just then, there was a knock on the bedchamber door. The prince looked up. What is it? In response to His Highness, this servant is here by order of the emperor and empress to ask the crown princess to flip a tablet. Flip a tablet? What tablet? I am the crown princess. How dare you? I looked up uneasily, only to meet the prince's eyes. He looked at me with some anger in his eyes. Yet he stepped aside to make a path for me. What are you dazing for? Go flip a tablet. I put on my outer coat and walked out of the room in fear and trembling. The eunuch in charge presented a tray. On the tray were 5 name tablets, besides one with the prince's name. The other 4 were strangers. I was a bit confused. Just these 5? Weren't 10 people sent this morning? How many more do you want? The prince's agitated voice came from behind me. His robe was loose, revealing a glimpse of his abdominal muscles, and he was glaring at me resentfully. My originally straying heart immediately became firm. I reached out and directly flipped the prince's tablet. A hint of satisfaction appeared on the prince's face, but eunuch Song was not very satisfied. Why don't you think about it again? His Majesty specifically instructed. that this year's Tanhua, Tao Ziheng, is of excellent character and appearance, and is physically strong. It's not about me betraying your son. What benefit is there for you in this? And what on earth does physically strong mean? He's a Tanhua scholar, not a breeding pig from a farm. As if to vent his dissatisfaction, the prince tossed and turned for quite a long time. By the time I woke up again, the bedchamber was already empty. After having breakfast, I brought my books, paper, and pens to the study, only to find someone already sitting there. The man saw me enter, curled his lips into a smile, and gave a graceful salute. Tao Ziheng greets Her Highness. Why are you here? Hasn't it always been Grand Tutor Zhao teaching me? Grand Tutor Zhao has already retired and returned to his hometown. His Majesty has issued a decree that from now on, Tao will be responsible for Her Highness's studies. His Majesty also instructed that Tao should take even better care of Her Highness's daily life. In the evening, the prince returned to the palace. When he heard about the peach spirit, Tao, he surprisingly didn't say much. He even personally arranged for the peach spirit to stay in the side hall. I couldn't help but ask him. I have something I want to ask Your Highness. A few days ago, the imperial doctor came to check your pulse. Was there any problem? The prince was stunned. What problem? Seeing that he still hadn't realized, I gritted my teeth and went straight to the point. Is Your Highness having some difficulty in producing heirs? The prince immediately turned red. Your head is full of such nonsense. That night, to prove he could produce heirs, he was very, very serious. I was so tired my toes curled up. Yet the prince put on his outer robe and was about to head out again. I quickly sat up. It's so late. Where is Your Highness going? The prince paused. He turned back at the door and squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. I am going to work out my abs. After that day, the prince went to work out every day. And eunuch Song came every day to ask me to flip a tablet. I only flipped the prince's tablet for over 10 days. The empress finally couldn't take it anymore, and invited me to the imperial garden to admire the flowers. Why haven't I seen you for a few days? I see you've become quite haggard. Are the servants not to your liking? How would I dare say no? There are already 10 of them. If I say they aren't to my liking, wouldn't there be hundreds or thousands more? Just then, there was a clamor of voices not far away. I asked curiously, are there royal relatives here? The empress smiled and said, what royal relatives? Your imperial father is holding a banquet in the palace today, inviting many young and talented men from the capital to attend. I suddenly had an ominous premonition. You haven't summoned a single one of the people sent to the Eastern Palace. Your father and I reflected for a long time, and felt that we don't understand the aesthetics of young people. You have to choose for yourself. See if there's anyone you like this time. That day, I brought 10 more handsome men back to the Eastern Palace. The prince's face instantly turned green. The crown princess is truly capable. One trip to the palace and you brought me back so many brothers. Seeing his tone was off, I immediately cleared my name. Actually, half were personally picked by the empress, and half I chose myself. I must say, they are very much to my liking. In the final analysis, it's the prince's fault. He can't produce heirs himself. The prince scanned the handsome men behind me. He pointed at one and shouted angrily, his eyes full of shock. Song Xiaochen. Why are you here? Song Xiaochen is the son of my father's adjutant. He loved playing behind me since we were little. I've always treated him as a younger brother. But for some reason, the empress directly made the decision to take him in. The prince's first love? He looked at the prince and smiled. Why is Your Highness here? Then that is why I am here. The prince's finger pointing at him trembled slightly. Since you've entered the Eastern Palace, then we are all brothers. In the future, everyone must live together in harmony and produce many offspring. The prince's words were very virtuous, but I felt very guilty. Because 3 years ago, during our grand wedding, the prince once held my hand and said he only wished for one person for a lifetime. But who could have guessed? He, the prince, hasn't taken any concubines, yet I, the crown princess, have taken in a harem. After evening, I brought some snacks to the study. Sitting on the side, I caught a glimpse and found a book on the prince's desk. The cover had 2 large words, rare husband. I was speechless. After another 10 newcomers were sent in, the Eastern Palace became quite lively. I studied with the peach spirit every morning, practiced archery and horse racing with Song Xiaochen in the afternoon, and had to deal with the prince when I returned to the Eastern Palace at night. Such strange and peaceful days. After more than a month passed, my father returned to the capital in victory, bringing back a Manchu prince. It said that the Manchu prince came to our dynasty for a marriage alliance. I was a bit confused. Imperial heirs have always been scarce. The existing royal bloodline, besides the emperor, only has the prince. Regardless of who it is, the gender wouldn't match, right? Silly child, of course he's suitable for you. Mother, please don't tease me. How could I have a marriage alliance with that Manchu prince? Would that Manchu prince even be willing? The petty squabbles in the Eastern Palace are one thing. But a marriage alliance between two countries is a major event. What if it accidentally starts a war? Ha 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 ha. What's there to be unwilling about? Our great Xia is a celestial empire. If we're willing to ally, they should be grateful. Ninger, don't worry. Just go see what that Manchu prince looks like. If he looks good, take him in. If he doesn't, then send him back where he came from. Having received the Empress's permission, I went to the guest house to see what the Manchu prince looked like. As soon as he saw me, he immediately bowed in greeting. Greetings to the Crown Princess Regnant. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Who is the Crown Princess Regnant? I am a Crown Princess Consort. How am I a Crown Princess Regnant? I know my father's 800,000 iron cavalry haven't rebelled yet. This whole thing is very puzzling. But as long as my father doesn't rebel, I will be the Crown Princess for a day. Despite my terrified look. Plus, the prince had a look of understanding. Not yet? Then it's sooner or later. What do you mean sooner or later? Don't scare me. Who knew Plus would rummage through his luggage and actually take out a book? What on earth is this thing? Doesn't Her Highness know? This has been your country's best-selling book for the last decade. Even in our capital, everyone has a copy. Prince Plus gave this book, The Crown Princess Regnant, to me. When leaving, he also shyly told me, if Her Highness is willing, I can marry into the Eastern Palace immediately. As soon as I got on the carriage, I couldn't wait to open the book. The beginning of the story was an imperial doctor diagnosing the Empress with poor health, fearing she would struggle to conceive again after this birth. The court was filled with stubborn traditionalists. If the Empress gave birth to a princess, they would surely force the Emperor to remarry. But the Emperor and Empress were deeply in love. The Emperor only wanted one person for a lifetime. Coincidentally, the Emperor's lifelong friend, General Gu, had a baby boy half a month prior. So the two families conspired and decided to swap the two babies. The world was told the Empress gave birth to a prince, and the Gu family had an only daughter. The plan was for the two children to marry in the future and have an heir of royal blood to take the throne. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds? But that girl was truly exceptional. No matter what setbacks she encountered, she relied on her own intelligence and talent to successfully resolve them time and time again. The people loved her. The Emperor and Empress adored her. She had many suitors, and the prince was devoted to her. Finally, the Emperor and Empress revealed her identity to the world. To the cheers of the people, she was made the Crown Princess Regnant. Later, the Emperor abdicated, and she ascended the throne as Empress. During her decades of rule, the country prospered, and all the people lived and worked in peace. Our nation became the most powerful in the world. The more I read, the more I broke out in a cold sweat. If the heroine of this book wasn't named Gu Xining, I would definitely have liked it. Just then, the guard said outside the carriage, Her Highness, we've almost reached the palace. We're not going back to the palace. Turn around and go to the Gu residence. When I returned to the Gu residence, my parents were just about to head to the palace. Seeing me, they were both surprised and delighted. Do you know about this book? My father picked up the book, flipped through 2 pages, and closed it. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this book? I was driven almost crazy by their calm attitude. What do you mean, what's wrong? This book says I'm not your biological daughter. My biological parents are the Emperor and Empress. Oh, you didn't know? After my parents took me to the palace to see the Emperor and Empress, they spoke of this matter again. Ninger said, she didn't know she was actually your biological daughter. Everyone looked at each other in silence. Finally, the Empress looked at me and spoke hesitantly. You really didn't know about this? You guys never told me. The whole world knows. And I, the heroine, am the only one who didn't, right? The 4 elders started talking at once, telling me the story behind this book. What I never expected was that the author of this book was actually the late Empress Dowager. In my memory, the Empress Dowager was a kind old lady. I often went to the palace when I was young. Every time, the Empress Dowager would hold my hand and talk for a long time. When I left, she would fill a food box with snacks for me to take home and eat slowly. When I was 3 years old, she found a batch of Fergana horses from the western regions and gave one to me as a birthday present. Even now, that Fergana horse is my most loyal companion, carrying me across the country. But from their mouths, I learned about a side of the Empress Dowager no one knew. The Empress Dowager was an extraordinary woman. The late emperor had no sons when he died. At that time, powerful ministers dominated the court and there was no male heir in the royal family to take the throne. The succession of the Xia royal family was in jeopardy. Coincidentally, the empress at the time, which was the Empress Dowager, was 4 months pregnant. If she gave birth to a princess, the Xia dynasty would likely fall. So when she went into labor, the Empress Dowager found a trusted loyal minister and used his family's newborn boy to swap for her own daughter. That fake prince successfully inherited the throne. After that, the Empress Dowager focused on political struggles. 15 years later, the powerful minister was successfully executed in the palace. She originally wanted to reveal her biological daughter's identity then. But the stubborn traditionalists in court were powerful. Forcing a female emperor system would inevitably cause court turmoil. Plus, her biological daughter and the fake prince were already married and deeply in love. So she let it go. Later, just as described in the book, the empress's health was damaged during childbirth. The two of them used the Gu family's boy to swap for their own biological daughter. The empress looked at me with a face full of guilt. Your father and I originally wanted to find an abandoned baby and send you out of the palace to be raised by a common family. But then the Empress Dowager stopped us and suggested using the Gu family's child instead. Luckily she stopped us. Otherwise we don't know how much you would have suffered. As for this book, it was published by the Empress Dowager when you were 8 years old. Initially, the book's distribution was very limited. But as you grew up, and your fame spread far and wide, this book was also rediscovered. People who read this book were surprised to find that all the stories in the book had become facts. The future described in this book was taken as a prophecy. The people all firmly believe that a female emperor will ascend the throne, strengthen the country, and bring 100 years of peace. Carrying this massive amount of information, I was too shocked to speak. I looked at the book in my hand. Even as a participant, I didn't know things in such detail. But the Empress Dowager died of illness when I was 10. If she was the author of this book, how could she have known all this? After returning to the Eastern Palace, I went straight to the prince's study. As soon as I entered, I saw the prince reading a book. Seeing me, he hurriedly hid the book at the very bottom. But I had already clearly seen the large words on the cover. It was Rare Husband. I couldn't believe it. Your Highness, since you were a child, have you been learning these things every day? Actually, it's not just these. I also learned zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, poetry, embroidery, household management, and palace etiquette and such. I suddenly understood. No wonder while other girls were embroidering in their rooms, I was outside throwing javelins, while other girls were writing poetry and painting. I was in the military camp studying battle strategy maps. It turns out everything I didn't learn, the prince learned for me. The prince suddenly grabbed my hand. Chao Zian is incredibly scholarly, but I can learn that too. Song Junchen is a master of beast taming, and I can learn that as well. If you like those people, I will never be jealous or act pitiful. I only ask one thing of you. Please don't abandon me. I stared at him for a long moment, and finally, I pulled him into a tight embrace. I whispered softly in his ear. Tomorrow, I will tell father and mother to dismiss all those people in the backyard. Once, on our wedding night, the prince and I had made this vow together. For as long as I can remember, I knew I would marry the man before me and become his wife. Although the roles have flipped and I'm marrying him now, it doesn't change the fact that I love him. A year later, the emperor and empress revealed my true identity. I became the first crown princess in history. 3 years later, my father abdicated and I ascended the throne. I became the first empress regnant in recorded history. On the day of my coronation, I immediately issued an imperial decree naming the prince, who reclaimed his true identity, as the imperial consort. In the 10 years after I gave birth to the eldest princess, every corner of the kingdom enjoyed peace and prosperity. Seeing how well I managed state affairs with perfect efficiency, my parents left the palace together to travel the world. My parents from the Gu family also handed the 800,000-strong army to me and followed in the footsteps of the former emperor and empress. The eldest princess babbles all day long. She is at that restless and active age. Fortunately, the imperial consort raised her with great devotion, giving me enough energy to manage the government. Tao Ziqing and Song Xiaoqian often send me flirtatious glances. Although Prince Plus didn't succeed in a political marriage, he has remained in the capital, saying he wants to study the advanced culture of the Xia kingdom. Through him, I finally realized that the common sights throughout the country, the crystal-clear glass, and the labor-saving looms, were all the work of one person. My late grandmother, the Empress Dowager. I ordered the Ministry of Rights to compile her inventions and deeds into a book and publish it under her real name. Such achievements should have been famous for eternity. But because she was a woman, history remembered her as a ruthless, power-hungry Empress Dowager. One day, while I was in the imperial study, handling government affairs, I found a diary hidden in a secret compartment of the desk. The first sentence of the diary was an exclamation. After 20 years of transmigrating to become the Empress Dowager, now you tell me I've transmigrated into a book? And I'm not even the heroine. My granddaughter is the heroine. Why on earth did I write such a tragic story back then? Now the karma is hitting my own granddaughter. I'm going to rewrite this crappy book. I'll help my precious granddaughter become the empress. Those old fossils in court are so stubborn. They should just hurry up, retire, and go farming. Mingming turned 1 today. She grabbed her father's imperial seal during the ceremony. Hehe, Mingming is 3 now. I found a Fergana foal from the western regions. It can grow up right alongside her. She'll be 5 next year. Today she came to the palace and called me grandmother. What a lovely little girl. The Zhao family's lineage is a bit thin. My precious granddaughter must have a full harem. We need scholars, military men, musicians, and artists. I'll arrange all the 4 arts experts for her. Maybe a tribal prince to spice things up, ha ha ha. Actually, forget it. Let her decide her own marriage. As long as she doesn't repeat her original tragic fate. Or maybe I should just make the original male lead a eunuch? That would solve everything. The diary ended abruptly there. I touched the corners of my eyes, and found they were already wet with tears. Even though the memory was very blurry, I could still vaguely remember the old lady's face. She was dressed elegantly, with a head of silver hair, handing me a pastry with a smile. Back then, I was only 5 or 6 years old, covered in pastry crumbs. She asked me with a smile, "What is your wish?" I tried my best to swallow the pastry, and shouted, "I want to study hard, and become a pillar of the nation. I want to make our people live in peace and happiness. I want our nation to become the strongest country in the world." In my memory, that kind old lady stroked my head with a smile. Mingming is so wonderful. You must keep working hard in the future. Mingming, you've done a great job.